Okay, up next, you love this one. Local authorities love to hear about how they can make sure that they get every single cent that they're owed out of people. I jest, of course, but the good people in Kildare have used technology to a very, very useful degree when it comes to identifying rates and who owes them what. The GeoCollect application, we'll hear in a minute from Martin Donnelly, but first of all, Catherine Ryan, ladies and gentlemen, from Kildare.
Thanks, everyone. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you about GeoCollect. So this is a system that we've developed in Kildare to help maximise income from commercial rates. And I suppose as a local authority, we're no different to everyone else here. Income from rates, extremely important source of funding for us with which to deliver services. We have a rate book of about 75 million, which is about 30% of our revenue budget. So very important that we try and maximise this area of income as much as we can, and certainly GeoCollect is the system that enables us to do that. Okay, so what you have on the screen there, these are all the systems that feed into making GeoCollect what it is. Okay, and really the reason why this system is so efficient and so effective is down to the depth and the quality and the accuracy of the data that feeds into it. Okay, and as a system, GeoCollect has three distinct functions, which I will get to, but I suppose the headline act of what it does is it gives you 100% capture on commercial activity in your area. Okay, now what does that mean? GeoCollect will identify any building that is not rated, but from which commercial activity is taking place. Okay, now that could be a residential property, could be a commercial property. But if you're running a business from a property and you're not getting a rates bill, GeoCollect will tell us who you are so that we can rectify it and send you a bill. Okay? And linked to that, for properties that are already rated, if the business that you have on your books, if they leave and someone else moves in, GeoCollect will tell us that as well. So if you combine those two things together, you get a full picture of what's happening in terms of commercial activity. You can send for rating everything that should go for rating, and at the end of the day you can pretty much guarantee that everybody who should be getting a rates bill gets a rates bill. Okay, just to give you an idea of how and why we came to develop this. So like most local authorities, we very much rely on our revenue collectors. They are our boots on the ground to be looking for changes in occupation, new buildings, extensions, etc. And they're supported in that work by a series of alerts that they get from iPlan for commencement notices, planning permissions, etc. And particularly in the main towns, that works really well. Like the lads would know every shop in every street. But once you come outside the main towns, it's not as easy. So Kildare is a pretty big county. You have a lot of roads to get down to carry out what are essentially ad hoc inspections looking for new commercial activity. Okay. Plus, you can only see what you can see from the road. And that's a problem, because if you can't see it, you can't send for rating. So you can never be fully sure that you're capturing everything that you're supposed to capture. We also then have the added challenge that, like a lot of local authorities, our revenue collector function is not being renewed. So as the lads retire, their posts either aren't replaced or they're replaced by office-based members of staff. So for example, when I started in Kildare maybe 8 years ago, we had 13 revenue collectors. We now have 5. 5 or 6 years from now, we may not have any. So there certainly is a challenge there to see, can we in some ways try and replicate that boots on the ground element, but to see can we do it from a desktop. And thankfully we were able to come up with that solution. We call it GeoCollect, and it's delivered through GIS. Okay, so GIS has been spoken about a good bit today, so I'm guessing you're kind of familiar with it. You have a mapping system with a series of like salami slices of data that you can add or take away as you wish, and you can see that with the tick boxes on the right there. And the idea of using GIS for something to do with rates was presented to us by our IT department. We weren't entirely sure what we were going to do with it, if we're honest, but the one thing we did know is that if we're going to do something with this, it has to give us more than what we were getting with the Tailteann map. So you'll all know the Tailteann map. You have thousands of blue dots on a map. indicating already rated properties. You hover your mouse over the top of the dot and you get the valuation report for that building. So if we're going to use GIS for rates, we have to get something more than that. Okay, so I had spoke to my colleague Fiona Brown, and I said, what is your, what are you looking for here? What's your dream scenario for this system? And her answer to me was really simple. She said, I want to open the map, I want to hover my mouse over the top of a building, I want a box to appear on the screen that gives me all of the information that I need to see. So all of the different reference numbers, both ours and Tolch's, customer name, address, balance, valuation report. I want everything in one place on one screen. And that was the ask that we gave Martin Donnelly, our GIS officer, who's here with us today. And not only did he give us back exactly what we asked for, he gave us lots more in addition. So what he created really is GeoCollect. So it's a system that has 3 distinct functions, okay? And I'll go through those with you now. So the first function we have is this data visualization tool. So this is our one-stop shop for rates. Everything you need in one place. And this in itself is hugely useful. For any of you, if you've worked in rates, you spend your time going between multiple databases to build up a picture of customer accounts. So you'll go from Ascendis to Aggresso to Tolcha and back again. This does away with the need for that. You have everything in one place. And what Martin did here was really clever. So if you look at the tick boxes there, he's created a number of slices of data for us. So the first slice he created is that rates slice, as I call it, with all our customer data. The second thing he did was he copied across the Tolcha map. So if I want to look at Tolcha's stuff in its entirety, I don't need to go to their website. I could just access it here. And then the third kind of slice of data that we had, that we do use quite a bit, is our planning permission information. So in themselves, 3 really useful reference points. Okay, and then the second function that we have here is a really useful data analysis tool. So if I want to look at rates collection in a particular business park or street or town or ED or whatever your parameter is, all I need to do is go into the map, throw a digital rope around that area. All the information will pop to the bottom of the screen, and that's easily exportable into Excel. Now, I use this on a weekly basis. It's a very, very useful tool in itself. Okay, and then we come to the third function. This is like the headliner of this system. So if I take you back for a sec to those slices that I talked about, we have our rates slice, our Tolcha slice, and our planning permission slice. The big win with this system came when we became aware of a slice of data that we didn't know anything about, which is the geo directory. So this is the kind of national database of buildings in Ireland, which is maintained by An Post, and it's kept up to date really frequently. It's updated every 3 months, which is very important for us. And every building has a name, has an address, and crucially, they all have an air code as well. So we figured out, once we became aware of this, that if we take the Tolcha list of already rated properties and we do a comparative analysis with the geo directory list, which contains within it every active business in Kildare. So we do a comparative analysis between the 2 lists with the air code as the common denominator. So if we literally play snap, match off the rated property to the active business. Anything that sticks out is almost certainly a building that is not rated, but from which commercial activity is taking place. Okay. Now, from your finance director's perspective, that is your missing money list. Okay. That is income that you're not getting because the place isn't rated and the person's not getting a bill. Okay. And what GeoCollect does for us is it pretty much guarantees that if that situation were to arise, in other words, somebody starts trading from a non-rated building, it cannot persist, because we now get an anomaly report every quarter, and we would pick that up really quickly. We'd send it off for rating, and then the person will get a bill. And the fact that we now get this quarterly report, it does 2 main things for us. The first thing that it does is if I take you back to those kind of ad hoc inspections that our revenue collectors were having to do, they don't really need to do those anymore, because we're going to get it through our anomaly list when it comes in. So we can be a bit more efficient in terms of their time. They can concentrate more effort into collecting money, dealing with customers, carrying out inspections, and then when their anomaly list comes in, when they get that list, they're not going on a wild goose chase. They're getting the name of a business, the address of a business, and an air code. So they can fly through that list really quickly, get it sent off for rating, and then we know that the bills will follow after that. And the second thing that having these reports gives us is it absolutely future-proofs us for the point in time where we don't have those revenue collectors, as we move towards a not entirely office-based system, because we will always have to do inspections of some description, and we always want to keep that kind of local connection, but certainly a more office-based system. Okay, so hopefully you have an idea of why we developed it, what it is, what it does, how it works. Now I want to give you an idea of what we found. So after Martin had developed this, we did a top-to-toe analysis of the county. And the first time we did this, we actually had to do it manually. So we literally took an Excel sheet with all the Telcha data, an Excel sheet with all the geodirectory data, and did a VLOOKUP between the two of them. And there is a bit of time in that. Since that time, Martin has figured out now how to automate that process. So there's actually no work involved from the rates admin side, from my perspective. We simply wait for our anomaly list to pop into my email. So it's really efficient use of time. So we did our top-to-toe analysis. We sent off for rating everything that should go for rating. And once all of that all those referrals filters through Telcha in maybe a year's time, we're looking at an increase in our rate book in terms of the number of properties of around 12%, okay, which is around 600 properties, so highly significant figures. Very hard to give you an accurate estimate of what that corresponds to in terms of money, because each of these 600 properties, they're all different in terms of size and scale, but certainly you're into millions. And it is worth saying, of the type of property that we found, there absolutely were some buildings that we really should have picked up and didn't, but they're very much in the minority. The majority of the properties that we found unrated, but with businesses in them, they were either located in places that you couldn't see them from the road, or located in places where we weren't looking for them. In other words, residential areas. And a particular example here would be things like creches. We've picked them all up over the last 3 or 4 years with the alerts we get for commencement notices, but there certainly were some before that located in, particularly away out in rural areas with no businesses near them, that we just wouldn't see them, and certainly they've all been captured now. Okay, so that's the system. I'm not going to say anything more about it there. Just before I close off, I do want to give you an idea of the cost of doing this, if it's something that you're interested in. So as a local authority, we were able to develop this within existing resources, which is to say the cost of this was Martin's time to develop it, my staff's time to kind of bed it in, but importantly, all of the systems that are needed to make this work, we were already paying for them. So, so really, we're making more efficient use of the systems that we already have, and there certainly, there were no purchase orders raised to do this. And this project formed part of our Lean Six Sigma program in 2023, and very like the lady who spoke from Donegal, you should see the same kind of themes here. You look at your processes, you get rid of the waste, you keep the good stuff, and then you should find yourself in a cycle of continual improvement. Okay, I'm going to wrap up there. We do just want to say thanks very much to NOAC and the CCMA for letting us kind of showcase this. It didn't take us very long to realise this was going to completely change how we deliver rates administration, and all of it for the better. So look, we're more than happy to spread it around if anyone's interested in it. We did do a bit of work with Fingal before Christmas to do just that, and we're going to give them our background scripts so that they don't have to duplicate work. More than happy to do that for anyone who's interested. My details are there, or come and chat to myself, or more importantly, Martin, after we finish. And look, we'll certainly set something up for you. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Catherine. I can tell you there was some level of interest in the room for that presentation. Can't imagine why. If you ever shared that with the TV licence people, I swear to God, I'll hunt you down. Just keep it to yourselves and local authorities. Don't bother sharing it out.